Okay, guys, welcome back. First, the lab today. You have the opportunity to play with the browser. So your lab today is basically the environment that you are going to use Monday for the exam. I hope everything works well, but in any case, if you have any question, any problem, please contact us as soon as you can. The idea is any issue that you have today, your webcam, your computer, keyboards, mouse, whatever, you have some days to fix it. So Monday, your first midterm. For the exam, you only have one attempt. So today for the quiz, you try one time, any issue, you can enter again and again and again and submit the quiz as many times as you need. And the last one is the one that is going to be graded. For the exam is one and only one. So please be sure that everything works correctly. Good. So moving forward, we talk about if and if else in the previous lectures. Today, I want to continue. If you remember, control structures, we have two types of control structures. Number one, conditions. Number two, loops. So right now we're reviewing conditions, conditional statements. If you remember, we have four options for conditions. One is the if alone. Two, the if else. We already reviewed those two. The other two are the switch statement and the question mark operators. I am going to talk about those two today, the switch statement and the question mark operator. The review tomorrow, my goal is to do a review tomorrow, kind of show you some questions that will be similar to the ones that you're going to have in the exam. But as I mentioned before, if you are able to solve any problem that is similar to the ones that you have been solving during the labs, you are fine. Tomorrow I am going to mention some examples and I am going to ask some questions and review with you some things that maybe you need to review or be sure that you have to tomorrow the review. So moving forward, switch and the question mark operator. Let's start with the switch. Question in the chat. Yes, you're going to have access to the lab quiz. I think the questions that are multiple choice are going to open tomorrow. I mean, it's like 24 hours for you to be able to solve the results. I think there is one question that was open, so the TAs and the grader, they are working to grade as soon as possible, and usually they finish in a couple of days. So I think you're going to have full results for the labs by the weekend. So, okay, switch. For the switch statement, I want to start telling you the following. Basically, there are more than one way to specify the same idea in any language, and programming is not the exception. You can do with if else exactly the same that I am going to show you with switch. The only thing is two different ways sometimes to solve the same problem. What is the goal? That you know both. And then later, when you're programming, you can choose one or the other. But one switch can be replaced with if else, and sometimes if else can be replaced with a switch. So I am sure that you're going to notice this. Switch. Switch statement basically is useful when you have several possible options. If you remember, the if else work with two options. You have the option when the condition is true, and you have the option when the condition is false. Only two options. Now, we can put together several if else, that is the last thing that we did, and we create two, and those two can become 4 or 6 or 8. I mean, you can increase the possibilities. But each time that you want to have more than two, you need a new if else. Putting together several if else, you can have several different paths for your program. Well, with the switch, you can create those several different paths, but with one instruction. The instruction, the rule is as follows. This is the grammatical rule, if you want to think in that way, for the switch statement. One, remember, all these statements should be inside of a method. Anything that we're reviewing regarding statements, remember the picture that I showed you, all of these go inside of a method. That is the place. Inside of the method, what you put is the keyword switch. Is the new keyword that you need to memorize. So please switch. Second, after the keyword switch, you open and close parentheses. Inside of those parentheses, whatever you put there is something that should be an integer value or a character. Because remember, character are numbers. So at the end, what I have there inside of the parentheses should be something that is a number, an integer number. You cannot have there floating point numbers. So an integer number or a char. Any expression, but the final result should be a number, integer. Usually, what we are going to have here is a variable. That is the common case. Inside of the parentheses is going to be a variable, an integer variable, any of the integer types, byte, short, long, or int, and char. Any type of variable from those types can be inside of the parentheses. First difference with the if-else. For the if-else, inside of the parentheses, you have something that is Boolean, true or false. You use relational operators. You use logic operators. For the switch, you do not do that. You can use arithmetic operators if you want, but the final result should be a number. Remember that one. Now, next, you open and close curly bracket. So switch, parentheses, something that is a number, open and closing curly brackets. What we're going to put inside of the curly brackets? Case. Case is a keyword. Usually in some books, you are going to read switch case statement. So they are going to mention both words, just like if else statement, switch case statement. But you know, only with switch statement is fine. But always they work together. Switch is going to work with case. They are together. They work in the same structure. Now, yes, I am going to mention that, answering the question in the chat. If you put here a character, the character is basically a number, and that number is the Unicode code for the particular character. Yeah, that is true. Now, I am going to show you example. Case. After the keyword case is another keyword. What you put is a value. A value? Yes. Basically, a switch case is going to do the following. It's going to compare this variable here with this value here. If those two are equal, if they are the same, the instructions after this column here are going to be executed. If this one is not equal to the variable, then it's going to compare this variable with the second value. If they are equal, the instruction after the colon are going to be executed. If they are not equal, it's going to continue and it's going to compare the value with the next case. They are equal, execute the instruction after the colon. They are not equal, continue. And you can put as many cases as you want. So starting at the top, compare equal, run the instructions. Not equal, compare the next case. Equal, execute the instructions. Not equal, continue with the next one. And you can put as many cases as you want. So it's just comparing if they are equal. That's it. Now, the instructions. Every single case statement is going to end. I mean, you can be thinking like, how do we know which is the first instruction and the last one? Something that you're going to notice, and I am going to show this in the example. If this is true, if this expression is equal to this value, the computer is going to start executing all the instructions after this column and all of them until the computer reads the following instruction. You're going to notice this instruction also together with the switch and the case. So, switch, a variable, case, one value to compare with the variable, all the instructions that you want to execute, and at the end, break. 3 new keywords, switch, case, and break. One more grammatical rule. Let's see an example. One problem. Do you remember the hot option pane? I am asking the user for something. What I am going to receive is a string. Then the parse, right? At this point here, what I have is a variable option that you know is integer, and that variable have inside a value, and that value is one number that the user give to you using this dialog box that we have been using. So from this point and above, this program should be familiar to you because you have been doing this for a week at least. So you have a variable. That variable have a number. You do not know which is the number because the user can run this program 3 times and put 3 different numbers. Well, in that point, we have this switch statement. And as you notice, the only thing that I put inside of the parentheses is an integer variable option. What is going to happen here? Open curly bracket, closing curly bracket. Everything inside of the curly bracket is my switch statement. It's one instruction. What is going to happen? The computer is going to compare the value in the variable option with the number 1. Case 1. Compare option with 1. What is going to happen if they are equal? What is going to happen if option is equal to 1? If option is equal to 1, all the instructions after the colon are going to be executed. In this case, I only have this print. So Phoenix is going to be printed on the screen. And this break stop the execution of the program, and this break is going to move the next line to be executed here after the switch. So just like with the if, you only execute one case. In the if, you only execute the if or the else. 2 possible paths, you only follow one. In this example, switch allows you to define multiple paths. In this case, I am defining 4 paths, and I am going to explain the 4th one. But 4 different paths. And when you follow one, you finish that one and continue after the switch finish. There is no way that you execute more than one. Now, what happens if the value was not 1? If the value was not 1, the computer is going to check the next case. It's going to check for the value 2. If the value is 2, it's going to print New York. And then this break is going to move the execution here. If the value is not 2, it's going to check for 3. It's going to print Seattle, and it's going to move here. What happens if the value is none of the ones that I list? In this example, what happens if the value is not 1, not 2, and not 3? Originally, the computer do nothing. There is no error. It's just like, okay, you give me 3 options, 1, 2, and 3, and none of them works. I do nothing. You remember the if without the else? What happens if the condition is false? You do nothing if you do not have the else. Now, what happens if I want to tell the computer, you know what? If the condition is false for all the options that I give you before, what happens if you want an else for all the possible cases? Your option is this keyword here, the foul. What is the foul? That one is going to be executed only if all the other options, if all the cases fail. So again, like the else, but not for one, but for all the options that you list. Usually you put the foul at the end, but it's not mandatory. The foul is going to be executed only if all the cases that you list fail. If everything else is not wrong, but false, right? I mean, if the comparison is false. What is important about this switch? Number one, we are using 4 keywords: switch, case, break, default. Those 4, if you review our lectures in the first week, 4 words that are in the slide that I showed you regarding the keywords in Java. 4 more words that I ask you to memorize, to remember, because you're going to be using these words. Now, it is clear this example. It is clear that if I give the 1, it's going to print Phoenix and it's going to print by. If I give the 2, it's going to print New York and by. If I give 3, it's going to print Seattle and by. If I give any other number that is not 1, not 2, not 3, it's going to print error and by. Why is printing by always? Hopefully you notice that this one is an instruction that is outside of the switch. It's not part of the switch. It's a second instruction in the program. It's a different paragraph in your document. Good. So this is my switch. This is the one that have a condition. That is the one that have different options. So I am going top down, and in some point I have multiple paths, but then everything comes together and my program continues in one line, and this by is in that line. Everyone is going to print by. By is not a condition in any way. Always that is going to be printed. Yes, you can have as many instructions from this point to this point. You can have as many instructions as you want. There is no limit. Again, for the if, you put your instructions inside of the curly bracket, remember? So 1 or more inside of the curly bracket. Here, from the colon to the break, as many instructions as you want. And you know what? You can put an if here, because the if is another instruction. Moreover, we can put another switch inside of a switch, because switch is an instruction. We're going to review examples like that. Good. Okay, what happens if you do not put the default? I want to review with you some options. What happens if I do not put the default? What happens if I do not put the break? Right? Because right now, this is example with all the elements there. But what happens if I forget some of the elements? Well, obviously, if you forgot the switch, this is not a switch statement. So that cannot happen. If you forgot the case, it's going to be an error. The compiler is going to complain. So the switch and the case are mandatory. If you forget switch or case, then the compiler complains. So that cannot happen. However, break and default are different. Obviously, you need the break and could be a good idea to have the default. But what happens if we forgot the break or if we forgot the default? Examples. Example number one. It's the same one as before, but I delete the default. You notice? No default here. Default, no default. What could happen without the default? Nothing. What happens if I put 1, 2, or 3? The result of this program and the result of this program, the same, with 1, with 2, and with 3. What happens with this program if I put any number that is not 3? It's going to print error. What happens in this program if I use any number that is not 1, 2, or 3? Nothing. If I put a number that is not 1, not 2, not 3, the only thing that I am going to have on the screen is value. So none of the prints in the switch statement is going to be executed. Makes sense, right? I mean, I have this condition with this variable option, and I am telling the computer what to do with the 1, what to do with the 2, what to do with the 3. So the computer is going to do those actions with those values. If I give any value that is not the one that I listed, the computer do nothing. It's an error. No, it's not an error. It's just like you do not want to do anything with a 5, for instance, or a 10, or a 100. The default is optional. You put the default, something is going to happen if you provide a value for this variable that is not in any of the cases. You do not put a default, that is fine. Your program is fine. But if this variable have a value that is not in the cases, the switch is going to do nothing. Makes sense, right? So default, optional. That is simple. It's like, okay, nothing happened. What could happen if I forgot the breaks? Remember, I am using the breaks like the closing parenthesis. I am using the breaks to tell the computer that this case ends here. This case ends here, and so on. You can think about open and closing parentheses like case break, case break. Instead of parentheses, words. Here, I forgot the breaks. And that is a common error in programming, guys. I am sure that you're going to forget a break in one of your programs. That is fine. But you need to know what is going to happen. Case number one. The user gives me as a value for option the 1. Well, this is 1. They are the same. All the instructions after the colon are going to be executed. If I give you 1, the computer is going to print Phoenix on the screen. Okay, same as before. So far, yes. Now, next. There is no break here. The computer is going to continue reading. Reading what? The cases? No, everything that is after the columns. Okay, I already print Phoenix. I am going to print also New York. Why not? I already crossed the door. Think about this column like this door that you enter the door and you are here in this column and you are reading all the instructions there. So the computer is going to print Phoenix, but also going to print New York, and also going to print Seattle. And why not? Also it's going to print error. The value was 1, and because you never put a stop, a close, the computer is going to read all the instructions after the columns. And what about if the value is 2? Well, if the value is 2, it's not 1, right? So the computer is not going to enter here. It's not going to print Phoenix, for sure. The value is 2. The computer is going to start running this line. If the value is 2, it's going to print New York, just as before. But also it's going to print Seattle. And also it's going to print error. Cross the door, and from that point down, do everything. So are you telling me that if the value is 3, the output is going to be Seattle and error? And if the value is 4 or any other number, error because of the default. What about the by? Nothing happened with the by. The by is going to be printed always. It's outside of what I am explaining with the switch. Make sense? That is the reason because you need the break. Unless this is the behavior that you want. I mean, in some cases, in some programs, maybe that is what you want. You want like, okay, if this condition is true, do everything and everything and everything, and you like going down. But usually it's not the case. Usually what you want is like in the original one. The case is 1, do this, stop. The case is 2, do this, stop. The case is 3, do whatever, stop. Break is the one that make the line, the execution stop. And when I say stop, is a stop for the switch and continue in the next line after the switch. Now, you asked me in the chat, do you need the break for the default? Well, in general, do you need the break for the last line of the switch? This one is going to jump to the end. This one is going to jump to the end. This one is going to jump to the end. Do we need a jump to the end for the last line? And hopefully you can check like, okay, the last line anyway is going to jump to the end. It's the last line, right? You do not need a break for the last line. And usually because the default is the last line, you do not need a break for that line. Now, my recommendation, if this is the first thing that you are doing programming, what happens if by any case you need another case like a case 10, and by mistake or whatever, you decide to put the case 10 here after the default. Can you do that? Yes, you can do that. There is no problem. The only thing is, if you forgot this break, always, always, always that you run this one is going to run the second one. When you get experience, it's a good idea to avoid the break in the last line because your program is going to be small. You do not want to repeat things. You do not want to write things that are not necessary. But if you are new doing programming and you want to play safe, it's fully okay to put breaks to every single line, no problem. Again, when you get expertise, in some point, it's a good idea to show that you have some experience and avoid that one. It's not needed. But if you put breaks to every single line, the compiler is fine. You can do that. It's okay. So you can avoid make mistakes and having some headaches in the homework. Good. So one question for you. Can we transform this switch to if-else conditions? Because I start this lecture telling you that basically you can do with if-else the same thing that we're doing with switch. So question for your exam, can you transform these to if-else? Basically what I am asking is delete the switch and using if-else achieve the same result. And I am glad that the answer in the chat is yes, because that is true. As we mentioned at the beginning, switch and if-else, two different ways to express same ideas or similar ideas. Hopefully you agree with me that the solution could be something like the following in this case. Let's see. What I am doing here is something like if, parentheses, option, because it's the variable, equal 1. Remember, equal, we want to compare. What if option is equal 1? System out println finish. I put the S only, system, right? Just to save time. Deliver. So if the option is 1, what I want to do is to print Phoenix, right? I have this break. The break is basically the end of the if. So else. I only have one line, so I can avoid the curly brackets, but if you want to put curly brackets, you can put curly brackets enclosing the print. It's only one instruction. Remember, one instruction, you can have the curly bracket or you can delete the curly bracket with one instruction. In this case, one instruction. I do not need the break works with the switch. Next, after the else, to be honest, I am going to have only one instruction, another if else, because if else give me 2 options, but here I have 4 options. So something that I can do, and remember the example yesterday, I can open here a curly bracket and then put the if inside, or I can just do if and put there another condition. Remember, here I have a white space. It's 2 words, else space if. And you can put in the middle open curly bracket, just like the example yesterday. So here, option equal 2, because it's the second case, right? If option 1, print something. Else, if option 2, print something. And if I follow the same idea, right? And again, I am using this S just to save space. If you are going to copy the program, it's system out println, just as before. Finally, if I only have 3 options, I am done. That is the equivalent of the switch, but using if else. Now, if I want to represent the default, this else without any other if is the equivalent to my default, because think about it. What is going to happen here if the value of option is 3? False, go to the else. False, go to the else. True, print 0. That's it. The same that in the switch. What is going to happen in the if the value for option is 100? The only thing that is going to be executed is the last else. Exactly the same thing for the switch. So in blue, that sequence, so that group of if else, is basically the equivalent of what we are doing with the switch, case, breaks, and the default. Make sense? A new instruction for you. Good? Scenarios in which you use one or the other. The scenario, maybe the only one, in which you select the switch is exactly the one that I am showing you. What is this scenario? This scenario is called the menu scenario. When you have in a program a menu, think about it. You have a menu. You're going to select one option in a menu. Always, always, always. In any program that you have a menu, could be a menu bar, could be a menu in your phone. Every single time that you select something from a menu, in the back is a switch case. A menu is a switch case. Can you change that to if else? Yes, do like this. But hopefully you agree with me that this one look easy to understand than this one. Moreover, this one have less elements, less characters than this one. So that is the scenario in which you could choose to use a switch case when you have a menu in your program. One program that I am going to ask you to do. And remember, we are not using graphical elements. In a graphical user interface, I could ask you to have a menu bar with different options and so on. We do not have that, or I am not asking you to do something like that. But what if I ask you to do a program and you can tell the user, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for that. That sounds familiar, right? In your phone, option 1, 2, 3. You have a switch case, but basically, according with the number that you select, you do something. In this case, the something is print something. For you, in 2 weeks, that number is going to be the name of the method that you are going to run. Depending on the number that you select, then you execute a method. And that method have inside a group of operations. When you select in the menu, you go to the menu right now and you select File, Open. You call a method Open. And the method Open is the one that shows you the dialog box to select the file and then read that file and put that file in your screen. Or you select the menu Save. And that one called a method Save. And that one basically read everything that you have on the screen and put that information on the hard drive. Things like that. Menus, that is switch case. Now, logical operator, no. Again, the only rule here is this thing should be an integer or a character. That's it. And the only comparison that you are doing is equal. The only thing that you do is to compare if this one is equal to one of the values here. If you need to use logic operators, if you need to do relational operators, if you want to compare if the number is greater than this but lower than this, you need to go back to the if else. You cannot use switch. Switch is not going to help. Switch, numbers and characters, and the only thing that you can compare is if the variable is equal to some particular value that you specify with a case. Those are the limitations with the switch. Good? Okay. I put the same information in the slides just in case that you review this later. Only integer or characters, cannot be boolean, cannot be floating point. So no relational, no logic operators because they provide a boolean value. And even though you can use numbers, those numbers should be integers, not floating points. Common error in programming. Just because you can use numbers, that doesn't mean that you can use here 1.1 or 2.5. That is not going to work. It should be an integer value. Break statement. Important at the end of each case. Do not forget the break because it's going to happen what I described before. The foul is optional, just as I showed you. So you can read this slide later, but it's basically the same thing that I shared with you. Another example, and hopefully now with the examples that follow, is just like for you to be sure that everything is clear. Similar idea that before. This instruction should be clear for you. You are asking the user for something, and the user is going to write something. In this case, you are asking the user to write a letter, but you know that the user can do whatever they want, right? The user can write hello because the box is a little bit long. So the user is going to put something there. Maybe the user is going to print 100 like before. So whatever. The user, whatever the user writes is going to be stored in the variable s. Now, I want to introduce a new thing for you, a new method. If you want to get one character from a string, so you have a string and for some reason, you want to have access to only one of the characters in the string. Think about, you have a string, x equal hello. So it's a variable, it's a string, whatever. And you want to store in a variable char one of the letters from the string, only one, because it's a char. You only can store one letter. The instruction for that, and we're going to review the details later, but for now it's just believe me. The instruction to do that is the following. Number one, put the name of the variable that have the string. In this case, this one is going to be equal to x is the variable that has the string. But it cannot be equal to x because x is all these letters, right? And this one can be only one. Our friend the dot. And we can use the instruction char at. That instruction is going to give you access to the character in a particular position, char at, parentheses, 0. That instruction is going to store in my variable y the letter H uppercase, the first letter of the string. 0 represents the first one. Something that we're going to review later, week 7, in programming. The first element in any place is not the 1, it's the 0. We need to talk about it, but just remember this. The first one is the number 0, not the number 1. So what if I put here a 1? That instruction is going to store in my variable y the letter E, and you can follow the same idea. If you put the 2, it's going to be an L, the 3 is going to be the other L, the 4 is going to be the O. And if you put a number that is bigger than 4, it's going to give you an error. Makes sense, right? I mean, you cannot ask for the letter 100 if I only have the string hello. So this line in red, the only thing that I am doing is I am going to ask the user to give me one letter, and the only thing that I am going to do is, I don't care if the user writes 100 letters. I am going to take the first one, the 0, and I am going to store that one in my variable letter. Please run this program. Now, I have a switch, and the only thing that I want to do is check what I have in the parentheses, my variable letter. So it's a character. What I am going to do is to use that character to select one of the cases. Now, if you remember the number, the Unicode for the letter, you can put the number here. No one remember all the Unicode characters. I mean, you do not need to remember them. So it's okay to put case, and instead of one number, you can put the character. And if you remember, the characters go inside of single quotation marks. Common error: do not do case and quotes, because that is a string, and that is going to give you an error. It's going to complain, because remember, switch case only with integers and characters. Characters, just like those examples that I mark, single quotation mark, only one character. And what is going to happen? The same that I described before. If letter is A, this line is going to be executed. And this break is going to make stop the thing and jump after the switch case. If the letter is B, that line is going to be executed. And this break is going to jump the program after the switch. If the letter is C, this line is going to run. And this break is going to move the program down. If the letter is not A, B, or C, then you run the default, and it's going to print this. I do not have a break. No problem. After this line, just go down to this point. There is no other place to go. You can be thinking, why in the previous example you have the break at the end of the line? Why in this example you have the break in a different line? It doesn't matter. Remember, the enters, tabs, white spaces, you can use those in the way that you want. The computer don't care for them. So in my previous example, I just put the breaks in the same line that made my code small. Here, my lines are very long, so I put the break down. Moreover, help me to show you two different options. Both are the same thing, yes. Makes sense? So, similar structure with characters. You do not need the break at the end, just because, as I am showing you with the green lines. The last one in any way is going to go down. What happens if I put a break here? Perfectly fine. I mean, you can notice that this is a new programmer. You can notice that this is a word that if you remove the word, nothing happens, but it's fine. As I mentioned before, you can play safe and put the word there. Or you can remember that you can remove that one. Both cases fine. So this program, any question? The new instruction char add, any question? Look fine, right? Okay. Another example, and you remember that we start doing this in the previous lecture. If I show you this in the exam and I ask you to explain me what this program is doing, can you do that? I mean, all the lines here, all the instructions are clear. You know what is happening there? If you're thinking like, I am going to ask the user for a grade and the user is going to give me that number, but because the instruction read a string, I need to do the parse. And after doing the parse, this variable that is integer is going to have the grade. And then because the variable is integer, I can create a switch with grade. And then basically, I am going to compare grade with the different cases. If the grade is different from 100, 95, 90, 85, 80, any number that is not one of those, then the default is the one that is going to be executed. Or if the grade is one of those, well, something is going to happen, right? Question for your exam. What happens if I told you that my grade is 99? According with this program, what is the letter that corresponds to my grade? Everyone agree? See. I mean, like, why? It's 99. Because this program is not using this number greater than, this number lower than. This program is asking, your grade is 100, A plus, or 90, A, and so on. It's asking for specific values. If I have 99, what it's going to do is the default case. The 99 do not exist in any of the previous lines. So, as you mentioned, 99, my grade is going to be C. That's it. Clear. C with 99 in this particular program. Good? Now, what happened if my grade is 95? Exactly, good catch. If my grade is 95, and this is something very, very special with the switch case, tricky. For your exam, this is a tricky question. If my grade is 95, hopefully you notice what I am doing. I am including break in some lines, and I am not including break in other lines. So according with my explanation before, if grade is 95, the computer is going to compare K is 100. 95 equal to 100? No. It's going to go down. 95 equal to 95? Yes. And in this point, the door is open. The computer is going to enter here. Now, the computer is going to enter there, but here is nothing. Okay, good. Nothing, but I am inside. So, nothing, and I go out. No, nothing, and you are in. and you can continue going down. Therefore, if my grade is 95, enter, nothing, go down, and it's going to print A. It's going to print A. And oh, this break is going to move the program to the end. What happens if my grade is 90? Exactly the same, right? So did you notice what happened here? I mean, what I am doing is for these two cases, it doesn't matter if the value is this one or this one, but the result is going to be the same, and they stop here. So you can visualize a program in which you can put case, value, column, case, value, column, case, value, column, and you can put 20 cases, and then the instructions and the break. And it doesn't matter which of the cases is true, all of them are going to end doing a particular instruction and break, stopping. Could be easy to do this with if-else statements. A subjective question. Maybe for someone, yes, for a different programmer, no. And what you're going to discover is if you ask two programmers to do exactly the same, to solve the same problem, two programmers can present to you different source code. One programmer can solve the problem with 10 lines, another programmer can solve the problem with 20, and another one with 100, and they are doing exactly the same. Programming is something that some people describe like the artistic part of programming, just because two people can achieve two different solutions for the same problem. It is better the if, it is better the switch, it's up to you. Think about you are writing a paper, and your paper could be great, but also the paper of one of your classmates could be great, and not necessarily they are exactly the same. Two books can be great, and they are not necessarily the same. It's up to the programmer. You are going to develop a particular style for programming. So maybe you are a programmer that likes the switch, or someone that solves everything with if-else. The goal here is that you know that if-else exists and switch exists. When you have a problem in which you need to apply conditions, select one of them, the one that you consider is better. Now, no boolean. Question in the chat, can we use boolean? No. I mean, basically what you have here, if you think about this example there, let me move here. What I have with this case 90, 2 points, case 95, 2 points, and then the S out, print ln, something, break. If you think about that two cases with if-else, what I am doing there, and I just copy paste one line of the problem, but what you're doing and what you're thinking is you have an if, and you have this it was great, right? Grade equal 90, or the one that you're mentioning, grade equal 95, and then and you do not need the break. That is what you have. I mean, there is an or there, yes, but with the switch case, you do not need the or. You just put all your cases. With the if you want to replicate the same, you can do this, and it can work. Yes, that could work. That, well, I am reading the chat, and if you check the chat, that could be possible, but you need case 95, case 94, case 93, case 92, and so on. I mean, you cannot use the comma. You need to put all of this. And I am sure, guys, that you're thinking, why? Why not the comma? Why? Why not the or in the switch? This is too long? Yes, it's too long. But my answer for you is, you are learning a language. And I am pretty sure that if you study any language, I mean, different from you, the language that you are native speakers, different from English or any other, we always, always, always ask the same. I mean, I can be thinking about French, German, Chinese, and if I remember my classes, I will think about like why this language is asking me for do. And I can be thinking about, this is too long, this is too complicated, this is, and if you ask your instructor, there is going to be a very good answer for the reason that that rule is in the way that the rule is. At the end, it's because someone, the guy that developed the language, decide that that was the way that he wanted his language to work. Well, in the human languages, it's not one person, it's a lot of people involved. For programming languages, there is one person. And I don't know if you search in Google, but there is one name, one person, that is the author of the Java language. Anyone know the name? The author of the Java language. One person? Yes, one person. You can Google it. James Googling. Okay. That is the author of the Java program language. So you can find the picture on that. So at the end, my answer is going to be, any complaint that you have, that is your guy. He is the one that decided it. Good. So commas could be a great option. We do not have it. We need to do something like this. It's too long. Yes, it's too long. So in those cases, if you have several different options, moving to an if-else option could be great. Your approach could be use if-else. That is a decision that you need to take. Going back to the examples. I am going to talk about, oh, I have 10 minutes. I am going to move forward to the operator. Check this example. Be sure that you understand. The operator question mark. The operator question mark. Let me tell you this before showing the slides. This can replace the if else. So you can use the operator question mark when you have an if else, but with only one option in the if and only one option in the else. 0 or 1 in the if, 0 or 1 in the else. If you have more than one instruction in the if or more than one instruction in the else, the question mark operator is not for that. So that is my first thing. Second, it's not only about having only one option, but it's about very particular options. Which options? When the instructions that you have here somehow involve an assignation, the equal, one equal operator. So remember this. You can use this one to replace if else, when you have only one instruction, 0 or 1 in the if, 0 or 1 in the else, and usually, not mandatory, but usually, when an assignation is involved in one or in both. Let's see. Question mark operator. Very simple. You put a condition. Yes, the same that you put inside of the parentheses of an if else. The same. Any condition. Here, you do not need parentheses. In the if else, you need the parentheses. Parentheses are mandatory. For the question mark, you do not need parentheses. Something happen if we put parentheses extra? Nothing. You can add the parentheses. You can put parentheses inside of everything, right? I mean, you can do x equal 1 between parentheses and work. Similar thing here. You do not need parentheses for the condition, but if you feel better having the parentheses, just to duplicate the if, you can put parentheses. You do not need the if at the beginning. What you use is the question mark after the condition. Did you notice the translation? It's if condition. Condition, question mark. What happens if the condition is true? You are going to execute the instruction that is after the question mark and before this guy here, that is a colon, not a semicolon, it's a colon. The instruction after the question mark and before the colon is going to be executed if the condition is true. Can I have more than one instruction? No, only one. So this is small, one instruction. The instruction ends with a semicolon. No, the instruction ends with the colon. That is the only exception. The first time that an instruction do not need the semicolon directly. After the colon, another instruction, and that instruction is going to end with the semicolon. The second instruction, the one between the colon and the semicolon, that one is going to be executed only if the condition is false. It's like an if else, the short version. It's like you can reduce that in English, right? If else, reduce. The condition, yes, the condition can be the same that we use in if else. You can use and, or, not, and multiple relational operators. The condition can be as big as you want. The only thing, the result, only one instruction for the if, only one instruction for the else. Now, example. And this is the reason because I mentioned the equal. Variable, you want to put a type there, it's fine. Variable equal. Equal to what? My variable is going to be equal to num1 or it's going to be equal to num2. Only one of those two things is going to happen. The variable is going to be equal to num1 or it's going to be equal to num2. That condition is going to control that. But I can create that with if else. Yes, I mean, you can do something like if num1 is greater than num2, then is equal to num1, else equal this instruction is the same that the one that I am showing you with the question mark operator. What is the difference? Sure. Condition, same condition. If question mark, you notice that you have this thing here and this thing here twice, only one time. And this part and this part are the only ones that are different. This part and this part. The else column, that is the use for the question mark operator. Think small. Good news, question mark operator is not in your exam. So this is used for you to know the operator. If you read or listen the name, question mark operator, but we are not going to be using this one, not in your exam. So what happened if, for instance, the condition, I want to say, okay, num1 greater than num2, or num1 equal to 0. It's a bigger condition. Just put all these conditions here. The same condition, copy paste. The condition, the same that you put in the if, is the same that you can use here. There is no limit for the size of the condition. The only limit, as you notice here, one instruction, one thing, and usually one variable or one expression that is after the assignation. That gives you the option to put the variable and the equal only one time outside. In Java, you have unary operators and binary operators. Hopefully that is clear. Unary operators, operators that need only one operand. You have two unary operators in Java. Can you help me? Which are the two operators, unary operators in Java? Operators that only need one operand, one element with the operator. The no is the first one, yes, no, and something else, only one thing. And the other one, we need to review those. So those are another two unary operators, the plus plus and minus minus, but we haven't reviewed them. The other one that I was thinking about, the minus unary. When you have this minus x, make the negative of a number, that is unary, in the same way that the not is unary. Binary operators, all the others, except this question mark. The question mark operator is the only one that needs three parts, three things. The condition and two elements, as in the example. So, question mark operator is a ternary operator. And again, I want to show you that the operator exists. Don't worry, it's not in your exam. But my recommendation, as previously, run this program in your compiler. Be sure that something like this is clear, and you can review more examples in the technical also. So switch is important, very, very important. If and if else, those are the three that we're going to be using. Those are the three that are in your exam. Play with those three, please. Now, all of this, one instruction. Hopefully you noticed that what I have here is a print instruction, and I am printing this string plus this number. What happens when you add a string plus a number? The number becomes a string, right? And if you notice, I am adding this. You are adding a condition? No. I am adding this string or this string, one of those two. Which one? Depending on the condition. So I am concatenating your change is then one number and then the string or the string according with this particular condition. Value for the variable is 1, it's going to print this. Value for the variable is not 1, any other thing could be 0, it's going to print this thing. So it's an operator. That is the reason because you can use this one inside of the print, just like before we use the plus, the minus, and so on. It's an operator, can be used inside of other instructions. Obviously, you cannot put an if-else condition inside of the print, or you cannot put a switch inside of the print. That could be a little bit crazy. But this one is an operator, and therefore can be used in any place in which you use operators. What could be the output? If the variable count is 1, the output is going to be something like this. And you notice that there is a white space here. So I am going to have the white space. It's going to print the value of the variable, and it's going to transform that to a string. So it's going to print the 1 in the string. And because this condition is true, it's going to print this. So it's going to print something like that. And there is no white space here and no white space in any place. So these two are going to be together, 1 and the uppercase T. If the variable has any other value, any other number, what you're going to have as an output is something similar, but here is going to be the other number, and you're going to have the extra S because it's going to be printing this word instead of the previous one. That is basically the output. Concatenate 3 things, 1 string, 1 number, and then 1 of 2 possible strings according with the condition. Good? So that was the question mark operator. Again, it's not in your exam. Only switch, if, and if else. So if you have time, review the 4 of them, all the conditional instructions, but if you need to prioritize your time, if else, and switch only. That is the only thing that you need. Good? So any question? Okay, see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you.